Hello and welcome. We start this broadcast with an important message, ladies and gentlemen. The Earth needs its more intelligent and evolved species, which is us, humankind, to stand up for it. How many of us will look away when our mother calls for help? How many of us will drop everything and rush to her aid? If you are one of those, then you will appreciate that this planet is also our mother, Mother Earth. She needs all 8 billion of us to help her, and she needs that help now. And she isn't asking for much. She's just urging us to plant one tree at a time. If each and every one of us can plant one sapling and nurture it till it becomes a tall, robust, life-giving tree, then we will provide Mother Earth a lifeline. Just like Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi took it upon himself to plant one tree on the World Environment Day this year. A simple yet actionable gesture. We urge each and every one of you to take the leap. Each one, plant one. So, you may be wondering, sitting at home, watching this special broadcast, this special message, why are we launching this initiative? And why should you take this initiative seriously? Now, here's a primer to India's forest cover and its tree cover, particularly over the last 20 years. India currently has less than a quarter of its area under total forest cover. Less than a quarter of India's land mass has forest cover. Between 2000 and 2023, that's in the last 20 plus years, India has lost as much as 2.33 million hectares of tree cover. That is a massive amount of land area that's been lost to deforestation. India, in the last 20 years, and we're all living proof of this, it's experienced massive and intense heat waves. In fact, this past summer, temperatures, particularly in northern India, in the national capital, Delhi and surrounding areas, soared above 50 degrees centigrade. Several regions in India, even as we speak right now, even though the monsoons have hit large parts of India, they're still facing a water scarcity. In fact, half of India's districts have experienced deficient rainfall in the month of June, and this is despite the monsoon hitting the coastal areas. Flash floods, for example, have increased by almost a third since 2019. That's just in the last 5 years. There's been a 35% increase in flash floods across the country. And more than half of India's forests are exposed to some form of occasional fires. So as climate change begins to impact us much more than ever before, it has become vital for each one of us to help repair the damage that we, humankind, have done to Mother Earth. Hence, it's the duty of each one of us to plant one tree. The News18 Network, India's largest news network, is taking the step towards this and launching Project One Tree. It's a movement aimed to mobilize every Indian to plant one tree. One tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. We urge you to join us in this noble endeavor.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News18 Network initiative.
And as we launch Project One Tree, we are indeed honored to present a special message from our esteemed President, Draupadi Murmu. She will enlighten us on the significance of championing Project One Tree to combat environmental challenges. Join us as President Murmu shares her vision on fostering a greener and more sustainable future.
देवियों और स्वजनों, मैं आप सबको पर्यावरण संरक्षण की दिशा में किए जा रहे इस सराहनीय प्रयास के लिए शुभकामनाएं देती हूँ। आज जलवायु परिवर्तन की गंभीर समस्या हम सबके सामने है। कुछ दिन पहले हीट वेव के विनाशकारी प्रभाव हमने देखे। कहीं अनेक लोगों की मृत्यु हो गई है और कहीं जंगलों में भयंकर आग फैल गई थी। इस चुनौती के हानिकारक प्रभाव देश और दुनिया में समाज, अर्थव्यवस्था, लोगों के स्वास्थ्य और पर्यावरण संबंधी सभी क्षेत्रों में दिखाई दे रही है। इनसे विकास की गति पर तो असर पड़ता ही है, साथ ही विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में कई आपदाएं भी सामने आती है। इसलिए ये अति आवश्यक है कि सामूहिक प्रयासों के द्वारा ऐसे मजबूत और स्थायी समाधान खोजे जाए जो जलवायु परिवर्तन की चुनौती का सामना करने में सहायक हो। आज विश्व स्तर पर अनेक ऐसे नीतियाँ बनाई जा रही है और ऐसे कार्यक्रम लागू किए जा रहे हैं जो पर्यावरण के हित में है और स्थायी विकास को बढ़ावा दे रही है। इस दिशा में अनेक प्रयास हो रही है, लेकिन हमें हर स्तर पर, हर क्षेत्र में अनेक कदम उठाने पड़ेंगे। इसी दिशा में एक महत्वपूर्ण प्रयास है पेड़ लगाना। पेड़ों के जरिए पृथ्वी सांस लेती है। पेड़ ऑक्सीजन प्रदान करके वायु के गुणवत्ता में सुधार करते हैं, पानी और मिट्टी का रक्षण करते हैं और वन्य जीवन को भी आश्रय देते हैं। मैं देशवासियों से आग्रह करती हूँ कि वे कम से कम एक पेड़ जरूर लगाएं। अगर देश के करोड़ों लोग पेड़ लगाएंगे तो पर्यावरण संरक्षण के लिए ये बहुत प्रभावी सिद्ध होगा। ये पृथ्वी के प्रति हर व्यक्ति, हर समुदाय की जिम्मेदारी है। आइए हम सब कम से कम एक एक पेड़ अवश्य लगाएं और उनकी देखभाल करने की भी जिम्मेदारी लें। आज हम जो भी पेड़ लगाएंगे वो हमारे आने वाली पीढ़ियों के बेहतर भविष्य की दिशा में एक महत्वपूर्ण योगदान होगा। मैं इस पहल के लिए पुनः आप सबकी सराहना करती हूँ। ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण विषय के संबंधों में एकजुट होना और समाधान की ओर बढ़ना अत्यंत प्रशंसनीय है। मुझे आशा है कि ऐसे प्रयास हमारे देश के सभी लोग, विशेषकर बच्चों और युवाओं को पर्यावरण संरक्षण के लिए प्रेरित करेंगे। मैं स्वस्थ, हरित और उज्जवल भविष्य के लिए आप सबको शुभकामनाएं देती हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
We truly and deeply appreciate the encouraging words of President Srimati Draupadi Murmu for the One Tree initiative. Your commitment to environmental sustainability does indeed set a powerful example. Now let's move forward. Let's take a moment to show you how News 18 editors have come forth to try and set a precedent with each one of us planting one tree, a role model which we hope each one of you can follow.
Well, we are all experiencing the devastating impact of climate change. It is time for us to act now. We don't have the luxury to wait any longer.
This tree is going to be named Anand's friend.
सिर्फ प्यारा सा पेड़ आज से रुबिका लियाकत का साथी है।
ये एक ऐसा मित्र है जो जीवन भर आपका साथ देगा।
ज्यादा नहीं तो कम से कम एक पौधा, एक पेड़ अवश्य लगाएं, जरूर लगाएं।
It's not just about planting one tree, it's about taking care of this planet. All right, let's delve a little deeper, understand the different dynamics into how trees can become your best friend and, of course, a solution to our climate change problem. Joining me for this special conversation here in our studios, Swami Prem Parivartan or People Baba. He's an environmentalist, a noted environmentalist who's, of course, been planting trees for a number of years now. Pradeep Shah is the founder of Grow Trees. He's also joining us on this broadcast. Let me start with you, sir. You know, at one level, if you look at it, people might say, oh, planting one tree, what difference does it really make? But tell our viewers why initiatives such as this have worked, not just here in India, but in other parts of the world, and how trees are the best solution to sort of mitigate this climate change problem.
You need to understand one thing, that just planting a sapling doesn't end the game.
Yeah.
It's just a beginning. It's just a gesture. It's just a symbolic gesture that yes, I'm sensitive. I'm ready to take some action. I'm ready to care. Because planting a sapling is just an act of about 10 minutes, but it takes about 2 to 5 years of caretaking, maintenance, watering, manuring, pruning, protecting, safety from goats, safety from cows, safety from buffalo, safety from grazing animals, safety from humans. So there's a complete package that goes into it.
So it's a 2 to 5 year investment.
Exactly, exactly. So first, this is something like, we when we work with people, we are working about 4 lakh people across the country. Except Kerala, we are working in practically every state, every district. And this is the skill training that we give to our volunteers, that you have to be very careful with the selection of the species, where you are going to plant. If you are planting in Aravali, the taproot, the surface root, the searching roots, they have to be in a certain way. The leaf structure, the leaf morphology has to be in a certain way. I'm not trying to get too technical about it, but what I'm trying to say is that this is serious business.
So if there are people watching this broadcast, as I'm sure there are, what advice would you give them? What kind of trees should they be planting? Should they be looking for local flora and fauna that's grown around that area?
So there's a lot of talk, a lot of misconceptions which revolve around indigenous species, native species. The best way is that the common folk should go for common trees. Whatever you see in your district, whatever you see in your city, right? If you are seeing X number of trees, X number of species, if you can just enhance those number of trees, right? And you can go for parks, you can go for schools, you can go for community spaces. Private lands, of course, they won't allow you. But I think it's very, very important that without any, getting too many people to come to the event. These days what is happening is that it is event based. The plantation becomes event based. And after that nobody comes to water the plant, nobody comes to see the sapling. And that is why we, at an average, India plants the largest number of saplings on the planet. All across. We plant the neck. And our survival is the lowest in the world.
That's because we don't take care of it.
We don't take care. We don't care.
Let me ask Mr. Pradeep Shah, who's also joining us. The reason why this conversation becomes important is because we are losing our forest cover at an alarming rate. I believe India's forest cover, as I showed a moment ago earlier in the broadcast, has come down to less than a quarter. It's 24.62%. In fact, India has lost somewhere in the region of 2 million plus hectares in the last 20 years of forest cover. So planting trees, and as People Baba said a moment ago, not just the act of 10 minutes of just planting a sapling, but actually taking care of it, which is an investment of 2 to 5 years. That is what is required of people who care about this planet, who want to join this initiative, and of course who simply want to leave behind a better planet for our future generations, for our children and children's children, than the one that we inherited.
Yes. So, in India, the typical village used to have grazing lands as well as devans or sacred groves or forests from which they derive fruit, flower, fodder, fuel for the community needs. So what we are trying to do is reforest those community lands, because over time they got destroyed. There's valuable timber in those lands, and so people chop them down for housing, for various purposes. And the grazing lands continued because they were grasslands, but the forest lands got destroyed. So we are trying to recreate them by involving the community in them. And we have a process that we follow. As People Baba rightly said, if you don't look after them, they won't survive. So we have a process that they are first in the nursery for a few months, and then they are planted in sites with the approval of the community, and the community looks after them because the community benefits from the fruit, flower, fodder, fuel. In addition, they provide shade and shelter to nomads and their cattle for fruit, flower, fodder, fuel, as well as shelter for animals and wildlife habitat improvement. Water catchment, that's one of the biggest benefits of trees in India. Soil erosion prevention, so that you don't have the flooding. When a raindrop falls from the sky, it takes away a little bit of the soil with it, and the soil then fills up the basin of the lake or the river. and therefore flooding takes place. So by having a canopy which catches the water and then drips it down slowly, and then the soil is loosened by the roots so that the soil seeps into the ground, that makes it so much better for groundwater to be recharged and soil erosion to be prevented. And of course, climate change, they absorb carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
The best, simplest way to absorb carbon dioxide. And what Grow Trees did was create a model of Greet with trees, which means you could plant a real tree, not just for the sake of the world, but also for yourself. You could greet a friend for a birthday, anniversary, New Year. Companies started using it to greet employees, engage with customers, or welcome a dignitary, and so on.
Okay, Mr. Shah, People Baba, thank you very much for contributing for the launch of Project One Tree. It's a movement that is being planted today. The wings of green need to spread throughout the country. Let's all commit to planting one tree each and taking care of it. It's not just a one-day, 10 or 15-minute activity. It's a 2 to 5 year investment. It's time we think about trees the way they've been thinking about us, unconditionally. This day, we also launch a content hub that's dedicated to Project One Tree. You can log on to news18features.com/Project One Tree. You'll get more information there about the initiative, watch a lot of interesting stories on plants and people, some green facts, and much more in the days to come. If you've been tuned in, thank you for your time, and thank you for being part of Project One Tree.